What's going on, guys? What's going on? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. Today, I'm going to talk about Ja Morant. Ja Morant is an NBA star who apparently just really maybe has this thing for the thug life. And I'm going to tell you like this, Ja Morant, if he continues down this path, he's going to cost his family over $1 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. And I'm going to explain the math behind that when we get started. So get comfortable, buckle up your seatbelt, hit the thumbs up button. We're going to get started on drboycetv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is blissful, we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm sitting in yet another airport. I'm doing a lot of flying this week. This week, I'm going to Los Angeles for the Black Wealth Boot Camp. It's going to be March 10th. If you'd like to join us, you want to learn about Black Wealth, that's what my PhD is in. I'd love to help you. Feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. If you'd like to meet up in LA, we'll be there for 2 days. All right, so Ja Morant. Ja Morant is this NBA player who is apparently just heavily invested in the thug life. He's paid and rich. I'm asking y'all, give me a yes or no, first of all. How many of y'all even know who Ja Morant is? How many of y'all have heard of Ja Morant? Ja is extraordinarily talented. He is apparently a beast as I think he's a point guard. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think he's that tall, but the man can play. He plays for the Memphis Grizzlies. He is extraordinarily talented. To the point where, maybe I don't know what the distraction is. Maybe he feels like can't nobody tell him nothing. I don't know, man. I'm not here to tell nobody how to live their life. I'm just here to say that, when you get to my stage in all this space, you kind of feel like you've seen everything over and over again, right? How many of y'all feel like you're when you hear about a young Black man kind of throwing it all away? How many of y'all feel like it's like that movie Groundhog Day? Like it's like repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And you're just seeing it happen over and over again, and it's like living in this like type of hell because it makes you feel bad because I think that's what good Black fathers are for. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to say, boy, when back in the 1980s, when I was your age playing basketball, I did the same thing. We was running the streets and doing this and doing that. Then I went to jail. Then I learned and I lost my contract. And you don't want to do what I did, right? How many of y'all, give me a guess if you had an uncle or like a father or somebody who warned you, who just said, look, don't do what I did. Like you can learn a lot like that, by the way. I learned a lot. I had shout out to every uncle I had, every cousin I had, and shout out to both of my fathers. I had a biological father and a stepfather, but he's not a stepfather. He's the man that raised me. And both of these men got involved in drugs. So each of them showed me that I should stay away from drugs. There's a Black man, you get in situations when your mind is altered. I know guys that have gotten 30 years in prison over something they did while they were high and while they were drunk. So shout out to all of that. They warned me about living a life of crime. They warned me about alcohol. They warned me about making bad choices, right? So you're supposed to learn from this stuff. And it makes me very sad when guys don't get that, or when we as a community, this is all connected to fatherhood. A lot of us think fathers don't matter, but fathers do matter. Now, again, I'm not talking specifically about Ja Morant's situation. I know he does have a dad. In fact, his father was one of the reasons he became a great basketball player. His father was a great basketball player. So I'd be very curious to see what his father has to say about his son's situation. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. I just know I read his bio and I know that his father had a great sports career and he cut it short because he had a baby named Ja. And he's, I guess, spent that time teaching Ja how to be a great player like him. So his father's probably not that old. So maybe his daddy's still learning lessons. I have no idea. But here's what I want to dig into. Okay, so Ja Morant, in case you don't know, Ja has he has a lot of money. Ja has a contract with the Memphis Grizzlies that is a 5-year deal for $193 million. 5 years, $193 million. I'm going to just say this. When you get that kind of money, I'm going to quote what Shannon Sharp said, which I agreed with. He said, when you get that kind of money, you got to move different. You got to move different. Best advice my thugged out daddy gave me, because my father, he would be defined as a thug. He was a street guy. He's killed people before. He's done all of that. And he said that when you have a lot to lose, like a $193 million contract, when you have a lot to lose, you shouldn't be in situations with people that have nothing to lose. When you have a lot to lose, you shouldn't be in situations with people that have nothing to lose, either around you or fighting with you or whatever. Right. So I don't really quite understand the thinking that's going on here, but I have some thoughts here, and I kind of want to share some of this and break it down, because this goes back to what I've been talking to you guys about consistently. We talk about wealth a lot on this platform. And one of the things I've been sharing with you all is that situations like this are the examples you need to dissect and analyze to understand where your black wealth is going, why your black wealth is missing. For every LeBron James who takes his 200, 300, 400 million and turns it into $1 billion, there is a Ja Morant who takes 200 million and turns it into nothing. Right? I'm going to say like this. I read the brother's bio. I went through it. I tried not to be judgmental. I try to understand. And I don't think he's going to last that long in the league. There was a story I read that really bothered me about the Indiana Pacers team bus. And they were on the bus, and apparently Ja got into it with one of the other players. And suddenly they had a beam, like a laser beam pointed at the bus. Like laser beam, like triple beam, like, what I'm talking. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? A laser beam pointed at the bus, and one of the security guards said that was definitely a gun. So here's where it's getting real interesting. Not only is Ja Morant a $100, $200, $300 million, probably maybe $500 million asset for the Memphis Grizzlies, but you've got him, unfortunately, in a situation where some might accuse him of threatening the $300-400 million assets of the Indiana Pacers and other teams. So what's happened is that, unfortunately, if that is the case, if that is what happened, you've got almost like a cultural virus. And when you have a virus or a cancer in the body, what do you do when you get a cancer in the body and you can disconnect it? What do you do if there's a cancer in the body? You cut it out. You cut it out. That all that thug stuff that they promote in the music. I'm willing to bet you that there are people right now that are saying, okay, if he don't pull it together, he gonna be gone. We ain't gonna sign him. We wouldn't sign him for $2.85. We wouldn't sign him if he averaged 800 points a game. Gilbert Arenas is a great example. Gilbert Arenas is anybody a basketball fan? Has anybody ever seen how good Gilbert Arenas was? Let's give a shout out to Gilbert Arenas and his old crazy ass. Gilbert Arenas was a bad boy. Like, he could go on the floor with Michael Jordan and literally like almost outshine on Michael Jordan. That's how great Gilbert Arenas was. I'm trying to figure out how old he is now. Let me see. He was born in 1982, which would make him about 41 years old. Let me just say this. I think that if Gilbert Arenas had not been a gun-toting buffoon, I believe Gilbert Arenas would have played in the NBA till he was 38 years old. In fact, if he stayed in good shape, he literally could have still be playing in the NBA right now at 41. He was that good. He was that good. But what happened when he brought that thug stuff into the locker room? I'm gonna get my strap, man. You done made me mad, dog. I'm gonna get my gun. They were like, nah, we want you out of here, buddy. It's time for you to go. It's time for you to go. And this is a reflection of how the black man is really viewed in America. You are a fascinating species. You are like a zoo animal in their minds. You're like the bear that knows how to ride a tricycle, or like the lion that knows how to stand on a stool and hold one arm up in the air. Or like the elephant that knows how to tap dance. People are amazed by that. People love it when they see the elephant dancing the jig, or they see the lion, roar or whatever. They admire all that. But what happens when the lion gets out of the cage? Boom, we got it. We had to kill him. What happens when the bear decides to attack somebody in the audience? Boom. Oh, we had to kill him. Fluffy the bear was making us a lot of money, but we can't have him disrupting the business model. We can't have him hurting the customers. We can't have him. This analogy may not make sense to some of you. It may go over some people's heads, and it's okay. It's okay to be stupid. It's okay if you're not smart enough to get what I'm saying. I just encourage you, if you disagree, show a logical example of where I'm wrong on this. There's nothing illogical about this. Do you remember what happened when Ron Artest got mad and went into the stands and punched somebody in the face in the stands? They gave him the biggest penalty in the history of the NBA. Why? Well, because they want to prove a point. This is butt breaking 101. That's what it is. And so ultimately, what I'm saying here is I worry about Ja Morant's future because his behavior, the gun-toting stuff, bringing the thug stuff to the NBA, it might be cool in fantasy. It might be cool to play the music. It might be cool to dress like a thug. But when you start engaging in that behavior, they're not going to keep him around for long, in my opinion. Unless he changes, unless somebody gets through to him, I don't know if that's going to happen. But anyway, and by the way, I love Ron Artest, by the way. He's actually come on this channel. So just know I respect the guy and I like him. But I'm making the point about butt breaking and how the black male is perceived in America. I think it's very important for you to understand. In fact, a lot of us don't get that. A lot of us, we play checkers instead of chess. So we don't understand white supremacy. You don't understand systematic racism and how that's working against you. For example, I went to my Instagram. My Instagram is the real Boyce Watkins, and I did a little test. I did a pop quiz, and I said, name me 5 to 10 white male actors in the last decade or the last 15 to 20 years who have dressed as women on the screen. That's what I said. I said, give me a list of white male actors and then give me a list of black male actors and see which list is longer. Now, remember, there's probably 10 times more white men in Hollywood than there are black men. There's 10 times more roles for white men than there are for black men. So if racism isn't really an issue, then the list should be about the same, or the black list should be shorter than the white list because we're only maybe 10% of the acting population, right? So I asked them to do that question. You know what I saw? People coming in because people just want to get mad, right? They argue with their emotions instead of logic and information. So they'll come in, they'll be like, Tootsie, Dustin Hoffman played Tootsie, and I was like, that was 1984. Do you know that's like 40 years ago? I didn't say 40 years ago. I said this decade, 15 years ago. Because I can give you a bunch of black ones. We go to Kevin Hart. We can talk about the guy on SNL. We can talk about Terry Crews. We can talk about Charles Barkley. Like, the list is long. It's easy to find black men that are dressed as women. Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy. I mean, keep going. We could keep going all day. The Wayans brothers. We can name black men in Hollywood who dress like women all day. But you have a hard time finding a white man. Has Brad Pitt ever done it? Has Tom Cruise ever done it? Have you seen Al Pacino do it? You see Robert De Niro do it? You see Liam Neeson do it? You see Hugh Jackman doing it? You see Robert Downey Jr. doing it? So I asked that question, and it was fascinating to me how people don't understand instructions. How literally there are people who don't even, they miss the whole question. They start mentioning like Patrick Swayze. That's 1998 or something. Like, that movie To Wong Fu came out 30 years ago. Pick something that happened recently. Like, do people not understand basic instructions? Robin Williams. Somebody mentioned Robin Williams. He's been dead for years, and he did his Mrs. Doubtfire in the 80s. I was a kid in the 80s. So here's my point. My point is to say that some things that seem very obvious to me are just not, like, some people just the brainwashing just runs deep in our community. The brainwashing runs deep, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be a know-it-all. I'm not trying to disrespect nobody, but I'm like, y'all don't see the writing on the wall. You don't see the agendas. You don't see your black men. You don't see this. Does anybody else see it, or was I just born on the wrong planet? Because literally, when I said give me 10 white men in the last decade or the last 20 years, they can't give me 10 white men. They're naming motherfuckers from 1985. Excuse my French. You're naming shit from the 1980s. Some of y'all weren't even born in the 1980s. And I was like, no, last 15 years. 1985 was not 15 years ago, right? So when I saw the responses, you can go read the response. Go to my Instagram. It's the real Boyce Watkins. Look for the post I put up about black men dressing as women in Hollywood. And I want you to look at the responses from the number of people who just got pissed off. Again, didn't have no facts. Just well, how dare you say? I get it. That's the psychologists call that cognitive dissonance. When somebody says something that is completely different from your reality, the first reaction that you have is anger. So I understand it. I forgive you. I'm not mad at you. But I need you. I want you to look at the comments, and then I'll try to reply to each one. It got tiring, so I just copied and pasted the same response. I said the last 20 years, not 1988 was not 20 years ago. So try to find an example from 2003 to 2023. That's 20 years ago. That we can do the math here, and nobody could do that. So where am I going with this? Where I'm going with this is that I don't think we understand. I think the reason we can't fight white supremacy is because we don't understand it. That's my point. The reason we can't fight it is because we're like, sometimes we get to the point where we're like the animal that's in the cage, and you really think the cage is the real world. Like you really think you were supposed to be born in the cage. And so I don't really think people understand that no matter how good of a player Ja Morant is, he may not last long in the league because the NBA owners are investors. And one of the things that you think about as an investor, my PhD's in finance, that's what I do. One of the things you think about as an investor is the preservation of your capital. Well, if you are an NBA team owner, your dominant capital are the players on your team. The athletes are your capital. So if Ja Morant is in situations where he's accused of pointing a gun, somebody in his crew pointing a gun with a beam on it at another team's bus, ain't nobody gonna tolerate that. They're gonna say, you know what, we can find another talented black kid who be more than happy to sign a $200 million contract and not give us 10,000 headaches. So I really am sad for this. I was reading Ja's bio, right? And I was reading on Wikipedia. I'm gonna pull this up. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe if you have not done that yet. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and my website's boycewatkins.com. And I don't just scream about the things I'm mad about. I actually provide solutions. So if you go to my website, you'll find little things like the $5 a day investing plan, where literally if you have a child, your child can be wealthy by 25 if you invest just the amount that it costs to buy Popeye's chicken. And I'm gonna invite Jeff Lightsey Jr. here from Ball Sports. He is one of the best sports guys I know. And I know he's all over the top of the Ja Morant thing. So I want to make sure Jeff gets a chance to pop in. All right. So, and I don't want this to be a diss fest. I'm not trying to diss this kid. I'm really trying to help him. But more importantly, I'm trying to help you because I told you I don't care so much about celebrities. I really want you to understand that when people say, well, why is black wealth so low? Why don't black people create jobs? What's really going on with black economics? Well, it's stuff like this. It's bad culture. Because remember this, with a $193 million contract, a smart person with a $193 million contract could create at least 20,000 jobs in the black community. Ja could take that money, and if he was as much about hustling for his community as he was about trying to portray this false imagery that comes out through hip hop, the thug life, he literally could be an economic gangster and go back to his old hood and create 20,000 jobs and elevate the standard of living for every single person in his old community. But instead, because this culture is mass promoted to young black men to convince them to destroy themselves at an early age, it's not going to end that way. And he's not the only one. He's not the first one. We talked about Gilbert Arenas. You could talk about all the money Allen Iverson ran through, trying to imitate an image that is presented of the black male in media. Antoine Walker made $100 million, lost every penny. Do you understand how much money you're giving away? You're not getting, when you lose $100 million as an NBA athlete, you're not losing $100 million. You're not, that's the beginning. No, you're losing $1 billion. You lost $1 billion. LeBron's a billionaire. He's going to be he's probably going to have $4 to $5 billion by the time he dies. He's just getting started. He's just getting started. Do y'all understand? He's just getting started economically. He's still a young man. Michael Jordan makes 10 times more money now than he ever made when he was out here hustling and running up and down the basketball court like a field slave. Michael Jordan was the best that there was, no question about it. But Michael Jordan didn't start making his real money till he left and used his brain. And shout out to Michael Jordan. I know the guys that run the Jordan brand. Larry Miller, the CEO, the chairman of the board, who work with Michael very closely. Larry's a great friend of mine. And I'm going to tell you, these guys are extraordinarily good at what they do. So the point of the matter is to say that when you lose $100 million as a black man, you're not losing 100 million. You're losing more like $1 billion because there's this thing called compound interest, where if you take that money and instead of blowing it at the club and put that money into assets and investing, that 100 million grows into 200 million, 300 million, $1 billion. Warren Buffett made an investment about 60, 70 years ago. I think he said he invested $150, and it's now by the year 2022, it'll be worth about $6 million, literally. So what I'm saying to you is that when they say, guys, why is black wealth going down? Well, there's a lot of factors. We talked about some of those factors like student loans and all this is indoctrination. All this is culture. You're brainwashed on this early, but also your economic leaders, the people that are supposed to be your champions, the ones who literally could do for black people what Elon Musk is doing for white people. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos both are creating about 1.5 million jobs, right? They're not running around. You don't hear about Elon Musk running around toting a gun and trying to thug out and get shot up at the club and go to prison. Elon Musk is trying to build rocket ships and go to Mars because nobody ever told him that it's not cool to be smart. Nobody ever told him that by being smart, he's acting like a nerd or that he's a square or that he's a simp. Nobody said all that. Nobody said that these men were simps because they wanted to build a family and build an institution. So the point of the matter is that you have bad culture. You just have really bad culture. So with Ja, I was reading and I saw there was a situation where he was in the club with a gun on Instagram. I'm gonna tell you what I saw with that. I watched that video. Here's what I'm wondering, and I really, really want you to share this with your son. The worst thing that the world ever did to the black male was to mass market drugs and alcohol to black men. Let me just explain this to you very plainly. These white folks, not all of them, not all white people are bad, but some of them want to kill you. Some of them want your son in a grave or in a prison. Some of them want your son done. They waiting for your son to get caught slipping so the cop can find any excuse to put him in a casket. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you are in a situation like that, I need you to understand. Give me a guess if you're following what I'm saying. When you're in a situation like that, you're basically at war. You're basically at war. Now, I don't know why there are some people who don't understand that, who don't understand that we are in a battle. But the thing about going to war, and the soldiers in here understand this, give me a yes or no. If you are a soldier and you are at war, do you get drunk right before you go off to battle? Like, do you show up to the battlefield, after drinking like a bottle of vodka? Like, if you are at war, do you show up and do you like pop 15 mollies and take some some oxy pills and some fentanyl and all this other stuff? Like, do you do that when you're at war? Do you really think that's going to help you win the battle? What do you seriously? And here's my point. A lot of brothers that end up in crazy situations where somebody done got shot at the club, somebody done got shot up by a cop, or somebody that end up in a bad situation where you took a penitentiary chance and you lost, you rolled the dice and you lost. Next thing you know, you got 80 years in prison. A lot of times it's because they were under the influence of drugs or alcohol. I know a young man, I know a father who was crying to me, not about maybe a month ago, and he was crying because his son got 50 years in prison. And he said his son committed a heinous crime while he was on drugs. And he said his son, every chance he gets, he helps his father by speaking to elementary school black boys about the thug life because he's telling them it's too late for me. I'm going to die in prison. And it's sad because the poor kid ain't nothing but 29 years old. Can you imagine what it must feel like to be 29 years old knowing that you're going to die in prison? Do you understand what I'm saying right now? Are you understanding the words that are coming out of my mouth? And and what's even worse is this one thing if you got a prison sentence because you knew what you were getting into. It's one thing if you said, man, you know what? If I go to jail forever, then I'm cool with that because I got to go kill this person. He took my wife or he messed with my daughter. What I understand that to a point, right? It's one thing if you know what you're doing. But what if you're 19 years old and somebody says, hey man, hit this, smoke this real quick. And you smoke it. And then you lose your mind, you lose your faculties, you don't know what the hell you're doing. And then you got this energy around you, this music and this culture around you, encouraging you to be thugged out. The girls want to see you thugged out. Your boys want to see you act like that. The music telling you that this is the way to live. And next thing you know, you done shot somebody. And then you give this all-white jury an opportunity to make sure that you no longer exist. They will disappear your ass and forget that you exist. There are men in prison right now who went to jail in 1994 because they got caught up in a moment in a situation and no one remembers them. They sat in jail lonely and sad and depressed, and everybody in their family was dying the entire time they were locked up, and they're not going to get out for another 20 or 30 years, and they're probably going to die right there in jail. And some of those guys committed those crimes while they were high or while they were drunk. A lot of those guys committed those crimes in situations where they say, if I had really been in my right mind, I never would have done that. So the biggest way that they can destroy you as a black man is when they take away your mind. That's why the CIA went out of their way to plant crack cocaine in as many black communities as possible. They wanted you to shoot each other up. They wanted you getting high as much as possible. They wanted you to go to prison as much as possible so they can exterminate you. And Joe Biden and all these other people, these were the ones who were behind it, because the Negro is a nuisance. The black man is not an asset to America unless he's an asset to America. The black man is not somebody that they look at and say, gosh, I really want him marrying my daughter. I really want more of these people in my neighborhood. I really like these people. No. Especially you come in there with culture they don't understand. No, they want you gone. So what I'm saying is, don't make it easy for them. Why are you making it so easy? Because when you high and you drunk, you do stuff that you wouldn't normally do. There's a guy named Chris Nellums that I used to admire who lives in Ohio, and he was a great athlete, one of the best sprinters I ever saw. He was track and field athlete of the year, and he became world class. He ran at Ohio State. That's where I got my PhD. And Chris Nellums is now, I think he's my age now, and he is serving, I want to say, like a 50-year prison sentence with no parole over something that he did while he was drunk or high or both. Right. And he's not the only one. There's like thousands of them, thousands of stories that you'll never hear. And they glorify this in the music. They glorify this. They want you to make these choices so that when you get locked up, you won't figure it out until you've been locked up for a good 5 or 10 years and somebody breaks it down to you and explains it to you. Because the media does not want black men receiving messages that are going to empower them and give them long life. They will pour and sprinkle on you messages that will cause you to end up dead. And so with Ja Morant, what makes me sad, and I'm trying to just be as honest as I can be about this, and I know I'm going to probably offend some people because maybe a lot of people don't talk this way. They try to be polite and try to keep it, simple and whatever. And it's just like, no, there's nothing good here. There's nothing good about any of this, of this shit, man. Dude, a 5-year, $193 million contract. You could be elevating the whole damn hood. Everybody in your community could be hailing you as a hero. Like, you could be literally changing the lives of thousands of people. Forgive me, man. It just makes me angry. And I think it makes me angry because every year I get older, I understand it better. And sometimes you just know too much. Like James Baldwin always said, if you ever want to be really frustrated, just become a conscious black man in America and it'll piss you off. You'll wake up mad every day. And I try not to wake up mad all the time. And that's his life. He's doing his thing, but I really worry for him. And in this video of him toting the gun on Instagram, again, it's all that culture, Instagram flexing, and they snitch on themselves. Like, they'll go kill somebody and then go make a song about it. Like, all this stuff is done to try to fit in to a culture that is not good for you. So the best thing you can do for your son, really, in my opinion, this is Uncle Boyce talking. I hope it's okay if I give an Uncle Boyce perspective on this. The best thing you could do for your son, in my opinion, is teach him how to be a leader and an independent thinker. The funny thing, I saw this video the other day about a girl who went to private school, a black girl. And she said that the worst thing about private school was that when she went to school with the white kids, they would make fun of her for being the black girl from the hood. But then when she would come back to the hood, they would say she was acting white, right? Because she wasn't like the other black kids because she was speaking different and all that. And I went through that. I went to the school called Kentucky Country Day, and it was terrible. It was a great school, but it was a terrible experience for an 11-year-old because I go to school with the rich white kids, and they would make fun of me for being poor. And then I would go hang out with black kids, and I didn't know the dances, and I didn't have the circle of friends that they had, so I didn't fit in like that. I would get made fun of for acting like a white boy, right? So what happened was I ended up understanding both cultures and both worlds. I understood white folks, I understood black people, but I observed them from a distance, right? I would observe black culture from a distance. I would observe white culture from a distance, and I can be in it, but I'm never of it. And so the best thing that ever happened to me actually was to be alienated by both cultures. I have black people that hate my guts. I go through the airport and I can always tell. I see people that see me and they're happy to see me, and then I see people that see me and they just get mad, right? They just stare. They kind of stare, and so I piss off a lot of black people. Y'all see this on the internet. You got people that got whole YouTube channels dedicated to talking shit about me, and it's fine. I don't care. They can whatever gets your views up, go for it. And then with white folks, they're afraid of me. They think that because I love my blackness, that somehow I must automatically hate them. That's their guilt talking. That's not me, because I didn't. All I said was good morning. I didn't say I hate you for being white. I just said I love myself for being black, right? So the point of the matter is to say that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because what it did was, once I knew who I was and I became okay with that person, I learned how to love who I am. So even if you don't like me, it's okay. I got plenty of love. I get love from myself. I get love from my mama. I get love from God, right? I know who I am, right? I'm okay with that guy, right? And that allows you to not care what other people think. That allows you to not feel like, oh, well, if I don't follow along and do what everybody else is doing, if I don't wear my pants like that and talk like that and whatever, if they think I'm too smart, I'm not gonna fit in. I don't give a shit. Like, no, I'm a leader. Like, no, either you're going to follow me or we're just going to go in separate directions, because I'm not following. If I see you going in a direction where you're jumping off a cliff, I'm not following you. And so this is important to teach that to your son early, because if your son knows who he is, he can say, man, I don't care what everybody, I don't care if everybody else is drinking. I'm not drinking that. I'm not, yeah, y'all smoke, but I'm not smoking that. Or I'm not taking those pills. Why would I want to take pills and risk, being out of my right mind? I don't know what's in those pills, right? You need to have a son that has that ability to lead himself. It maybe lead other people. That might be beneficial too. But even if he can't lead other people, at least be able to lead himself, because they have systems in place that are designed to drive black men right off a cliff. Like, if you look at this guy, this Ja Morant guy, great basketball player. You're playing for the Memphis Grizzlies, brother. You're literally making more money in a day than most people make in an entire 10-year period. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm curious. Let me do the math right quick. Let me see. I'm gonna grab an online calculator. Hit the thumbs up button, by the way. Please hit the thumbs up button. And also, I'll be in Los Angeles for the Black Wealth Boot Camp next week. If you want to join us, just go to my website. It's boycewatkins.com. All right. So let me see. He has a 5-year, $193 million contract. So let's see, how much money is that per year? Oh, hold on. Hold on. Hey, everybody on Instagram, I gotta go because that's my wife calling. So y'all are on my phone and I'm gonna have to hang up. So I'm sorry. I gotta talk to my baby. My apologies. I love you guys. I'll see you later. Hold on. Y'all know, I know this is so ghetto, right? This show, I have like a little, I ain't no real show host. This is bootleg as hell. I know it, but it's okay. I gotta talk to my wife because I'm supposed to meet her. Hold on. All right. So give me 1 second, everybody. I hope you will allow me to see what my wife wants. Hold on. Let me call her. All right. Okay. I'm gonna figure out how much Ja Morant makes per year. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm in my podcast right now. They can hear you and I talking. Yep. Yeah. Do they find me? Are they gonna let you in? Okay. Yeah. Tell them I think I'm in conference room A. Yep. All right, baby. I'll see you in a minute. All right. I'm gonna get back to my podcast and talking to my people. All right. Love you. All right. Bye bye. Okay. All right. So Ja Morant makes $38.6 million a year. Okay. So write that down. 38.6 million. All right. And then per month, Ja Morant brings home $3.2 million a month. Okay. Y'all ready? Y'all get it? Y'all getting his numbers? Okay. All right. So he makes $3.2 million a month. Every month has about 30 days in it. So Ja Morant makes, let me see, $100,000 a day. He makes $100,000 a day. So he makes more money in a day. Just this is for base salary. This don't include no endorsement deals and that. But I imagine the endorsement deals are probably going to disappear with the thugging out type stuff or whatever. But literally, he makes $100,000 in a day. Most people in America, the average income of the average American in this country. Let me see. What's the average income in America? Let me see. What is the average income in America? The average income in America is $31,133 a year. So I'm gonna bring Jeff Licey Jr. And Jeff, I just now saw you, man. I'm gonna bring Jeff on in here. What's up, Jeff? How you doing, man?
How's it going, Doc? Thank you as always.
Bring me going good, man. We up here counting Ja Morant's money. I don't know if you can hear that. Hear me talking.
Oh my God, Ja Morant. He's so let me kind of paint this picture for the audience and shout out to everybody that's watching. Doc, so Ja Morant might be the biggest idiot in the NBA. I mean, I'm just calling it what it is because Ja Morant has no idea what he's doing to himself. Ja Morant didn't come from a broken family. Ja Morant didn't come from this just rundown, beat down. He had his mother, his father, his family all together, right? He goes to Murray State in our home state of Kentucky, Murray State, right? And kills it at Murray State. Goes to
Murray State?
Yeah, Ja Morant went to Murray
State. I didn't know that. I thought he played for a good team.
No, he went to Murray State and becomes
who the hell for Murray State even makes it to the NBA? That's crazy.
My point exactly. You got to be special. This is how special Ja Morant is. He is that special. He went to Murray State, was special at Murray, becomes the number 2 overall pick, only behind Zion Williamson, who's a phenom, right? The number 2 overall pick, and exceeds the expectations of a number 2 overall pick. He's an all-star, all-NBA, all everything, and decides he's the first person to successfully make it from a middle-class family and want to go to the NBA and be a gangster. You want to go to the NBA and be a damn thug. Like, you want to go to the NBA and risk hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And here's the thing, and the incidents don't stop. So about 2 months ago, it came out in a report that Ja Morant, his buddies that he brought with him, because he moved his family from South Carolina. So he moved his family and friends from South Carolina to Memphis, right? When he made it, and then he got a $200 million contract. And so he moved everybody to Memphis. His whole family's living in Memphis, mom, dad, loved ones, everybody. He goes these are the incidents that have taken place with Ja this year. Just this year, like really just in the last 2 months. He had the one incident where he got into it with some guys from, hey, Dr. Alicia, how's it going?
My wife was here. I had to give her a kiss. Yeah, she's in the room. I got to pucker up. I can't help it. Go ahead, man. Keep going.
Yeah, but no, he about 2 months ago, he and his buddies, he had got into it with some people from the Indiana Pacers, like some of the players, NBA guys chirp, get mad at each other, it's competitive. And so when the Pacers team bus was leaving Memphis, Ja in the car with his friends point a laser beam at him with a gun, right? That was the first incident. Then you have another incident that came out recently where Ja allegedly beat up a 17-year-old that was at his house. Now, he said it was self-defense, whatever, but apparently in the 17-year-old's report of the incident that he got punched 12 to 13 times and that Ja flashed the gun there too. And so all of this is happening. That came out this week. And so with all of that stuff coming out like recently, all of these bad incidents, all of this stuff, all of this, you go on Instagram Live and flash another damn gun? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, do you understand? Like you said, you make $100,000 a day, and all of this come out. Like you said, you were just talking NBA money. Ja Morant, because he is so freaking talented, because he is so good, that he just became the first in like Powerade. I mean, I didn't even know Powerade was still out here, but Powerade hasn't had a signature athlete in over 5 years. And this week, they announced their partnership with none other than Ja Morant. So Ja Morant becomes the first signature athlete since LeBron James at Powerade. Wow. And now you do this on Instagram? Like, what is going on, bro? Like that. And the thing with Ja, there's no excuse, right? Some people say, oh, I don't have my dad in my life, so I never had the father figure. Oh, I don't have this in my life, so I never had that. I don't have a family structure. I have a broken home. I have X, Y, Z, whatever excuse. Ja has no excuse. He has his mom. He has his dad. I don't know what's going on. His dad's the number one supporter. He's at the games. He's courtside. He's talking smack. He's loving it. He's enjoying it. He's bigging up his son. He's got that nurturing father figure, and you still want to be a damn fool. Like, you still want to hang out with these rappers. You still want to hang out with these gangsters in Memphis. You still want to act tough. You still want to do the, like, it just blows my mind because you are squandering an opportunity. And as talented as he is, he's going to get more chances, right? Because he's so freaking talented, like he's that good. But at some point with this foolishness, your skills diminish. Like, everybody's skills diminish. At some point, you won't be able to dunk a basketball. At some point, you won't be able to jump 45 inches. At some point, and a lot of times, a lot of people's peak come faster than they expected. But there's only so much foolishness these NBA teams, these white organizations, these white owners are going to deal with. You know, in Memphis, they may give you more leniency because that's the way the city runs in a lot of ways. But and you're helping revigorating the city. But at the same time, it's like, come on, man, you're squandering an opportunity. You're squandering, and if you're doing, think about this though, Doc. Ja Morant's worth $200 million. You're doing all of this as the public face and one of the faces of the NBA. What do you think he's going to be doing with all that money? And if he's acting like this as an NBA player, but when his NBA career, what the hell you think he's going to be doing? He's going to be trying to be a kingpin or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if you're willing to risk everything from the NBA and all the great things that you have going for you, well, once that's done, then you're really going to be out here. Like, the only reason why you can't be out here full time is because you got to play 82 basketball games. But once the basketball is done, Ja's going to be doing a lot of dumb stuff if he doesn't get his act together.
Well, the thing with Ja is that, I think you get to the point where you think that they can never get rid of you, right? And the problem that he has is that there can get to a point where the bad outweighs the good. I've seen super talented athletes that nobody would sign. Just like people like, nah, we don't want to. In fact, he wasn't as good as Ja Morant, but remember Ray Rice, who played for the Baltimore Ravens, star running back. I mean, he was good. Ray Rice was a great running back, but he had that one incident where he punched his wife in the elevator. They were like, we can find another good running back. If we got $100 million to pay somebody or whatever, we can find some other talented black man that'll take the job and won't give us all these headaches. So I don't think anybody should ever get to the point where they think they cannot be replaced. And one thing you didn't mention too, was you mentioned a lot of incidents. One incident I saw as well was, a lot of people don't notice, but 3 days before the incident that allegedly, you got to say allegedly, right? Because
allegedly,
people make stuff up, right? But before the alleged incident with the 17-year-old, 3 days before that, the police in Memphis said that Ja threatened a security guard at a mall
because of his mom. He was
at the finish line, and his mama.
He wasn't even there. He just threatened him and apparently pulled up and was asking what time the guy gets off work and brandishing guns or whatever there too. So,
yep. Yeah, man, like that's just bad. And it really, and you talked about, like, okay, he came from this home with two parents and all that, but two parents doesn't guarantee that you got two good parents, because I'm sitting there trying to figure out if his mother was in an argument and was calling her son for backup. I wonder what's going on with that. Like, wouldn't you call your husband for backup? And why? And like, wouldn't you say, son, you got a lot to lose. I don't need you wrapped up in this. I got this. Like that's a type of protection that a loved one who cares about you is going to provide. They're going to be like, nah, I don't want you in trouble. You stay back. We ain't gonna shop at this store. Like, I don't know. Again, I don't know what happened, but that's the thing. Most men cannot, like, if your mama is in an argument and your mama says, "Get him, son," you know what I mean? A lot of us would, like, if your mom said, I know your mother, like, if your mama was like Jeff, go get him, Jeff, you'd be like, okay, you know what I mean? I know I would, right? So to me, I'm wondering with his mother, like, if your son has all that to lose, why would you even encourage him in that way? I know my mother would never encourage me to, like, get fired from my job, and I never had a job.
Risk your life. Yeah, the risk your livelihood, the risk our life. The only reason why we living like this is because Ja made it. We are from, some small town in South Carolina, right? Mm-hmm. And we done came up like the Jeffersons. Our son had this talent that nobody, like even we didn't.
Jeff, you there?
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all can hear Jeff.
Oh, my bad.
Okay.
Oh,
All right, so Jeff, it looks like you're frozen, man. I'm gonna have to hit that remove Jeff from the chat for a little bit. Maybe he'll come back in. Can y'all hear me? Okay, give me a yes if you can still hear me. Okay. And somebody said, FYI, Mrs. Doubtfire came out in 1993. Yeah, okay. So that was what we were talking earlier, where I was challenging you all. I said, give me a list of white men who have dressed like women in the last 20 years. Now, I want y'all to give me a yes or no. Was 1993 in the last 20 years? I'm not trying to make fun of you. I'm just trying to make a point. Was 1993 in the last 20 years, or was that 30 years ago? Last time I checked, 1993 was in 1993. So I'm bringing Jeff back in. So by the way, Jeff, yeah, I challenged everybody on Instagram, and I was talking about how Hollywood has that agenda. They got all these brothers dressing like women, and I said, I challenged them. I said, I want you to name as many white men as you could think of who have dressed like women in the last 15, 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. And now I can name a bunch of brothers. It's easy. I can right on top of the dome come up with 10 or 12. And given that there's 10 times more white men in Hollywood, there should be 10 times more examples. Like, so if there's 10, 15 black men, I should be able to find 150 white men, right? Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and all that. And so people were I guess because they were just mad because I said this, they think I'm overreacting. So they were like naming these examples. And they were naming like examples from like 1985, 1993. Like
Robin Williams, Mrs. Doubtfire, is that?
Yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire. I said Mrs. Doubtfire came out when I was like 21 years old. Like, like what are you talking about? I said since 2003. 15, 20 years ago. Don't give me an example from the 80s. So anyway, man, so I think I won that argument, y'all. I don't know. But if y'all think I'm wrong, or y'all think I'm overreacting, that's fine. Just y'all keep cheering on all this stuff. But I'm gonna tell you, there is an agenda, and we were talking about this with Ja Morant because it was sort of like explaining how America views the black male, right?
Absolutely.
The way America views the black male, like with Ja, it's like, okay, yeah, you're great as long as you provide adequate and safe entertainment, right? But the minute you start, really taking that thug culture too seriously, like you pointing you pointing beams, like I won't say triple beams. Yeah,
team buses.
yeah, like that. Yeah, you become a danger to the other assets, right? You become like if you are hurting our customers, meaning people in the stands, or if you are hurting like an owner, or if you're hurting other players, they might push you out like they did Gilbert Arenas. Remember Gilbert Arenas pulled out that gun on that dude, and Gilbert was a great player when nobody was signing, from what I understand. I don't know, you can maybe correct me on that, but Gilbert Arenas was a bad boy, and then suddenly he was no longer in the NBA.
Yeah, so with the Gilbert thing, it was a little different because he was in the NBA long, like he was still in the league. His skills just kind of diminished, right? Like, see, people like they overestimate themselves. LeBron James is a one of one. To be doing what he's doing as an athlete, your skills diminish over time. That's just what happens. It's natural. Anybody that's ever, just like getting older. As you get older, you wake up with a pain that you ain't asked for. You know what I mean? Like you be like, damn, like when did that get there? Or how did that happen? You know what I mean? So like athletes' peaks typically are shorter than they expect. And so therefore, at some point, like I said, Ja won't be able to dunk a basketball like he does right now. Like Ja can jump over this house, right? Like Ja Morant is a special kind of athlete. Like I said, to make it from Murray State to the number 2 overall pick, to be a NBA All-Star, to get a $200 million contract, like that's special. Like nobody ever else has ever done any of that stuff. Maybe not even at the University of Louisville, let alone Murray State. You know what I mean? A few of them did it from Louisville, maybe a few from Kentucky, but damn sure nobody from Murray State. And so therefore, like his peak, unfortunately, how it works in sports, typically peaks are shorter than we expect. Like we expect people to be better for longer, but just life happens. It just is what it is. And so therefore, what I'm saying with Ja, his decision-making skills as of now just aren't the best. Like they aren't smart. And it doesn't seem like anyone in his corner, whether it's his father, his mother, or whoever, are putting in his ear like, yo, son, like you effing up right now. Like, yo, son, you should probably pipe down. And probably because of that, his father is such a big fan of his. And because Ja's the breadwinner, when you're the breadwinner, it's hard for people to tell you what to do. You know what I mean? It's hard. Like when you have a bunch of yes men around you, like we have a bunch of yes men around, and you feeding everybody's eating off you. Then nobody's gonna tell you no because you're scared they might cut you off. You scared, and so clearly it's what it seems like is taking place with Ja. Like nobody is holding him accountable for these dumbass decisions that he's making. It's sad because he is so smart, he is so talented, he has such a great story, he's doing some great things, but it's being overshadowed by this damn thug gangster culture that he's trying to live up to. He's trying to live like the rappers that he hang out with in Memphis, and not like the $200 million man that he really is. And that's sad, man. Like that's really, really sad. Like I watched somebody earlier in the chat say, oh, it's just another version of Iverson. No. We've never seen a superstar to this magnitude act this damn dumb. Like we've seen dumb people in sports. Like it's a lot of dummies, right? Like, but typically they're not the biggest and brightest of stars. It's typically a lower ranked guy. Even if he's good, he's still not. Like Ja Morant is like a top 5 player in the league. Like Ja Morant may be a top 10 player in the NBA. Like Ja Morant is, and even Iverson. Like Iverson was doing goofy stuff, like not showing up to practice, and you know what I mean, and wearing baggy clothes. Like he embodied hip hop culture when it came to fashion and the way he played. But you didn't ever hear Iverson toting around guns and pointing laser beams at team buses and getting on. Obviously social media wasn't a thing when he was playing around, but he would toting guns and flashing guns on social media and threatening 17-year-old kids with guns. Like, Iverson never done that dumb shit. Like nobody of this magnitude ever did this stupid, because they understood what they had to risk, what they had to lose. And Ja has everything to lose and continues to do dumb stuff. His father, I think, is being too much of a friend and not enough of a father to like hold, like, yo, my son is tweaking. Like my son is not doing like publicly, or even, I don't know what he's doing privately, but he's not admonishing his son publicly, which he should be when you're acting this dumb, man. Because right now you're not just risking your life, like you're risking the entire family's livelihood. If Ja Morant gets cut from the NBA, or if something happens to him where he has to go to jail, these are offenses that land you in jail, right? Like these ain't just like a bunch of guns and pointing guns at team buses. His friends have already been suspended. Like the Memphis Grizzlies literally had to suspend Ja's friends from the games. Ja's the biggest thing to hit Memphis as a basketball player ever, and his entourage can't even come to games anymore. Like they literally, after that gun incident, pointed at they had to ban his friends from coming to the games. So think about that. Think about like Doc, you own the Black Business School. Imagine if your friends and family couldn't do anything with the Black Business School because you were doing dumb stuff. Like how silly that sounds. Think about how goofy that sounds. That's the craziest thing in the world. And he just has to realize that his father, his mother, whoever, and I didn't even think about that thing with his mom, how you said, yo, she called her son, which is like, damn, she did put him at jeopardy. Like that isn't good parenting. Like you should know better than that, than to do something that's.
You know what I'm thinking is like, there's something missing here, right? Like I really would like to understand. And I was Googling, I saw where his father made some harsh comments on Twitter. They said he destroyed his own son. I'm gonna read some of this because I'm really trying to understand what's going on with the father. The father looks very, very young. Also, if their relationship is not as strong as it needs to be, that could be part of the issue too. Like a lot of people, when they have that person that's guiding them, when they lose that person's guidance, they start acting out and acting fool. Like when Tiger Woods' daddy died, he kind of fell apart. That was literally about the time his golf career started just plummeting down.
Yeah.
And and so that role of that father as a guide is really important. So I'm looking here, and they said, let me see here. His father said something on Twitter that apparently upset a lot of people. And let me see. They said his father roasted him on live TV. They said, listen, Ja Morant took everyone by storm. Let's see here. His father used one word to describe his playoff performance this year, and his father said he played like trash. Ja played like trash. Yeah, trash. His father said with a smile on his face. So I don't know. I'm wondering if there's something there in terms of the father just not being what you would think a father would be in a situation.
I think he's too much of a friend. I think he's more like Ja, just how it comes off publicly. Once again, I don't know these people, but publicly it comes off. Obviously, he's Ja's biggest supporter, and like even that comment is like, "Yo, Ja played bad." He'll criticize his basketball game, but are you helping guide him in life? You know what I mean? Like basketball is just one part of his life. all of this other goofy stuff, man. Like you can't like you can be tight with your children and you can, want the best for your children, but at the same time, you still have to be able to have that parental influence, no matter how big how big your child is, how big your child gets. Like Doc, with your father, like he'll like if you do something he don't like, he gonna get right with you, and you're Dr. Boyce Watkins, right? Like you know what I mean. But at the same time, it's like, nah, man. Like I don't care who you are. Like I remember you said you went on TV and you said something. Your dad called you up and was like, nah, man, that wasn't right. Like that wasn't cool. I just don't know if that's taking place with Ja because he is Ja Morant. And his father is his biggest supporter as far as publicly, but at the same time, you still have to be able to parent your children. Like even me, like I can, do whatever. And my mom would be quick to be like, nah, dog. Or my daddy be like, nah, man, that ain't cool. That ain't how we get down. That ain't how you was raised. That ain't how you weren't brought up like that. If I ever started acting out or whatever, my dad would be the first person to be like, nah, man, we don't get down like that. Like this, that's not how you was raised.
You do know that Shannon Sharp and Ja's father exchanged words at a game. Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and I'm really so. Here's what I'm saying, right? What I'm speculating on is that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? And so we already talked about Ja's mother, getting into an altercation at finish line. Then she calls her son for backup, right? What mama really? I mean, come on, like your mama calling you for backup. Of course you're gonna show up because you're like,
oh, $200 million man. You the $200 million man.
right. And then the father is getting thugged out and trying to fight with Shannon Sharp. His father's kind of thin. He probably lose that fight. And right. And so to me, I'm thinking, he at least those two primary guides in his life. I'm wondering what they're guiding him toward. Like I'm wondering when they sit back and as a family and have conversations about what's going on and what he might lose, right? What are they saying to him? Are they saying, son, see these people, they wrong. They doing this to my baby? Because you know how you got kids that go to school and then their mama will fight the damn teacher, and your child is a little asshole, but your mama believes that her baby can do no wrong. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? And so I'd be curious to know what kind of conversations they're having, because that without a doubt, there's probably like 1,000 people lined up to try to talk sense into him. It's like they could in NBA, they're always trying to figure out young black men. They're like, okay, how do we get mentors? Maybe we'll get some guys that played in the 90s and the 2000s to come in and mentor the guys and all this. They got guys all the way up as old as Bill Russell was to as young as like guys that just retired a couple years ago to set you straight, to show you the game, to prepare you, right? So he's getting the advice and the guidance. He's probably not receiving it. That's the problem. And I also lean on that point about when I saw him in the club, showing a gun on Instagram, I would bet every nickel in my bank account that he had been drinking that night. And also even with the stuff they promote in the music in terms of like popping mollies and all that, and you saw Kodak Black got locked up for fentanyl and all that, like that drug culture that's in there, that's a recipe for disaster, because you'll do some dumb shit while you're high and drunk and you won't even remember what you did the next day. I saw a 19-year-old kid who got he literally took a hit of something that one of his friends handed him. He didn't know it was laced. It was laced with something. He said the next day he woke up in jail and found out that he had killed somebody the day before. He didn't even remember doing it. And he got they gave him like triple life in prison, 19 years old. So to me, I'm just wondering, like, in terms of, because this is clearly stupid, right? It's clearly crazy, right? And the thing about it is, there are people that are going to cheer it on because, again, you got people out there that just want young black men gone. They want them to die. They want them in prison. They want whatever. But to me, it's like, what's the variable? What's happening? Like, I would love to just be a fly on the wall and just hear a conversation between him and his parents. How are y'all processing this? Between him and the NBA, at some point, if this continues, a couple things is going to happen. Is one, his corporate sponsors all going to bail. All his deals will be done. All that out the window. Second of all, the Grizzlies will eventually say, okay, how do we just get out of this situation? It's like even with Kanye, and this is the thing. This is what the community's got to understand. Like people cheer on like some of the behavior, right? Because we kind of think, oh yeah, well he's just he's just keeping it real and everything else. And it's like even with Kanye, you know, like people were cheering on what Kanye was doing in terms of him throwing away $250 million a year because he had that whole issue with the Jewish people, right? And I was kind of up close to that, right? I talked to Kanye for hours. I talked to his accountants for hours about his financial situation, and I felt like a lot of was being lost. I felt like for $250 million a year, you could literally fund and endow 5 HBCUs per year and educate
Mm,
100,000 black kids over the next 100, 200 years with the amount of
mm,
money you just make in a couple of years. I did not think it was worth it. I thought it was a
mm.
little bit too much. And so now what's happened though, like just speaking on Kanye, now he got it, you know, there's the headline is Kanye got, you know, makes a new deal with Adidas and blah, 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 blah. So people are like, yeah, he's winning. He's winning. He's winning. No, he's not. No, he's not. You don't think that those white folks are sitting around saying, let's just get this Negro to help us sell the rest of these damn shoes because we already invested $400 million in these big ugly sneakers. We gotta offload this inventory. But after it's done, we're not doing business no more. We just gotta clean up a mess right now. It ain't gonna be the same. So my point is to say, like, I get it, right? It's one thing to just stand up for things you believe in and all that. That's very important. But some of this stuff is stupid, man. Like what benefit do you have in your own life or anybody else's life when you like splashing your gun on Instagram? What are you representing? What culture are you carrying that's going to lead to anybody having a better life? Especially when you're throwing away 200 million that could be used to change the lives of all the people that you love.
I think I heard, I think it was Tank that said, he said, yo, man, like it's specifically as you were talking about hip hop culture and music. He said, yo, the record execs and whoever, they aren't afraid of black violence. Like they're not afraid of shoot them up, kill them, blah, blah, blah. He said they're afraid of black love. Like the bandwidth of when I sing, like Sam Smith made a song, Stay With Me, and singing to a woman. Yeah, it was like singing to a woman and all of that stuff. He said that is what scares them. Because if black folks took that approach, one, even when we make songs like that, he was like, I make songs like that, but it doesn't get any airtime, any bandwidth because they don't want it to get any airtime and bandwidth. Because if more black men specifically, more black men thought with our brains and thought with love and care and didn't think about shoot them up, kill them, whatever, that would change our whole trajectory of our people. You know what I mean? Like imagine if we hear a bunch of love songs and a bunch of songs of music that about catering to the woman, about catering to our families, about taking care of our, you know, children, moms, dads, families, instead of sliding on the ops. You know what I mean? Instead of like doing that. Like just imagine what that would do for our community. Like that would progress our community leaps and bounds if we just heard a year worth of songs that would catering to the woman, catering to the family, being a good father, being a good husband, instead of sliding on the ops and you know, popping mollies and doing all kinds of drugs. Like that is what the masses at large are afraid of. And once we understand that, I think our whole trajectory will change. I think the whole black community will change once we understand exactly what that man said. And I never thought about it like that until I heard him say that. I'm like, yo, that's absolutely correct. Like, imagine what it would be like if I cut on the radio and instead of hearing about how you know, put another black man in the ground, right, that you was being the best husband that you could be, that you were being the best father that you could be, that you were wanting to get married instead of having all these women and sleeping with all the women and getting all the women pregnant or whatever. Like that would literally change our entire trajectory. And we wouldn't be talking about guys like Ja Morant trying to emulate the current hip hop culture, but maybe he'd be emulating the songs that talk about being a good husband, talk about being a good father, talk about being a good son, talk about being a good, you know what I mean? Like he would be emulating that instead of this goofy nonsense that he's trying to emulate when he's got $200 million. Come on.
Yeah, that's crazy. And by the way, everybody, I'm talking to Jeff Lightsey Jr. from the Black Boss channel. Make sure you follow Jeff on Instagram. He knows his sports. He's representing the HBCUs. He's becoming a dominant, prominent voice in that space. And he's just really good at what he does. So everybody follow him at J Lightsey 7. Also, I want to remind everybody, I'm doing a Black Wealth Bootcamp next weekend in LA, March 10th. If you want to join us for 2 days, just go to boycewatkins.com. That's my website. And also at boycewatkins.com. For those of you that want to become better investors, I found a list of 9 AI stocks that I believe are going to do well in the next decade. So feel free to go to my website, boycewatkins.com, and the list is right there, and it's totally free. So feel free to go check that out. All right, so man, I think that you're right in that. It's like the thing is that the world views the black man in a certain way. They just do. I came into this. I'm in the Chicago airport right now, about to get on a plane. And I came into, they have this little area like the American Airlines Club, because I wanted to get some privacy so I could do this podcast, because I wanted to have this conversation with you. So I came in, and there was a floor, the regular club floor. And then there was what I think the flagship club or something, where to go in there, you have to be like a super premium member and international first class flight. Like, you basically spend a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And I accidentally got off on the wrong floor. I went to the special super rich people floor, and instead of going to my floor, right? Yeah. And when I walked through the door, the lady just instantly assumed I was on the wrong floor. She just talked to me like, "Oh, you ain't
supposed to be here."
Right. And I wasn't offended. I don't care what people think about me, right? What matters is what you think about yourself. I didn't get offended, but I said, wow, that's so interesting that this lady just knew. She knew, oh, this is a black man. There's no way he's flying international first class, or that he's a super platinum member, or whatever you like. I'm like, well, I could be if I wanted to, but okay, all right, well, just So here's my point, right? I think that in this country, we got to be conscious of not just how we see ourselves, but also how other people see us, in terms of just sort of figuring out, like, what does that mean, right? So if they see you as the thug, the clown, the buffoon, the idiot, whatever, the self-destructive person, then that is your job. You've been typecast. It's like you're in a movie and you're not playing the hero, you're playing the fucking clown. You know what I mean? So when you're playing the clown, you can't show up, where they think you're gonna come in and play the clown, but you show up like, no, I'm supposed to be the king. No, they're gonna be like, no, put on the clown suit. Like, you're funny when you put on the clown suit. We like
you. Or the dress. Or the clown suit, the dress.
You putting on the crown. Oh, you need to get up out of here. You're not doing it right. And that's what we gotta understand. So that's what happens in music. So Tank, he was expressing and explaining how no, the black man is not showing up saying he loves the black woman. He's supposed to say, I hate my women. He's not supposed to show up and say, I love and want to take care of my kids. No, we like him better when he's the irresponsible buffoon that doesn't take care of his kids, because that's what we think you guys do. And it's entertaining for us to watch you destroy yourselves and kill each other. Like, that's really cool. Like, the thug life, white people are very fascinated. No disrespect. If you white, don't think I'm mad at you. I don't dislike anybody. But they really are intrigued by, like, the thug life. Like, the thug life is like when a black dude comes in with 85,000 tattoos and 55 gold chains and holding his nuts and with a pocket full of money and popping pills and talking about he hates his women and wants to kill another black person. They cheer for that. Right? And these are the same people who will simultaneously say Black Lives Matter. But you're cheering for a man who literally had a verse in his song that said, I shot 5 black people last week. Right? He won't say it like that. He'll use the N-word, of course, right? Because that's very entertaining when we use the N-word to describe ourselves, right? But that's the role. So if that same guy showed up and said, no, I don't want to be a thugged out rapper. I want to be an engineer for Google, right? I want to work with Elon Musk and build rocket ships that go to Mars. They'll be like, oh, that's boring. You're not acting black.
You're acting white. You're acting too white.
Yeah, you being white. Like that's not your job. You're wearing the king.
That's my job. That's my job.
Right,
because like you said,
there you go.
Yeah, you're entertained by, it's almost like being entertained by something like that you would never do or that you can never have. A lot of people are like, dang, man. It's like, oh, okay. Well, if you could trade places with that person, would you? Hell no. You think I want to look like that? Like, that's the buffoon. Yeah. That's his job. And then I'm the one that goes to work at Apple or goes to, build, whatever for creating AI or starting businesses or trading stocks or whatever. Like, that's my job. I'm just entertained by the goofiness. I'm entertained by the ratchetness. I'm entertained by the foolishness, right? And because that's what those type of people do. You know what I mean? Like I said, if they try to be politically correct, or they come out straight tell you, like the dude who writes the Gilbert, the comic strip is like, yo, the black people are violent. Like, yo, I don't want to be around those people. I watch them. I watch them dunk a basketball or tell a joke or put on a dress or whatever. But shit, you think I want to live with them? You think I want to be neighbors with them? You think I want to be around them? And like some of them just straight out tell you. Most of them are use coded language, right? They use, oh, he's too woke or he's too this or he's too that. And then some of them now are getting, some of these white supremacists are just getting straight up bold. And like, yo, I like my black people like Aunt Jemima. Aunt Jemima, you know what I mean? Like dude from the actor, they say, yeah, why don't we see Aunt Jemima anymore? Or the Gilbert guy come out and say, like, yo, those black people, they're naturally violent. You know what I mean?
So like it was that Gilbert guy was funny because he was basically saying, like, he was sounding like somebody who was really into helping black people. He said, I'm just tired of trying to help them because every time I do, like, it backfires. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was so interesting to him say that. You know, it's always real funny when somebody just tells the truth. I don't really get offended because I don't care what nobody thinks about me. I told you that, but yeah. I just really find it interesting when somebody really tells you what they're really thinking. Because what a lot of white folks do is they will be politically correct with the language, or they'll be very quiet about it and won't talk about it. But the thing is, I think that there are certain things that need to be talked about. I think that in the black community, we got conversations we need to have. Like if you're mad about what's going on, for example, with Jackson, Mississippi, where the state government's taking over the city and stuff like that. Like if you're mad about that, I get it. It's not right. It's definitely some racist stuff. But are we really talking about the violence in Jackson? Are we as upset when a little 9-year-old girl gets shot on her bicycle in Jackson as we are when CNN is mass marketing George Floyd's death? Like that's George. You would think George Floyd was the only black person that died in the year 2020 or whatever year it was, right? You would literally think not one other black person died in the year 2020 except for him. Yeah, they comparing him to Martin Luther King and all that. I'm like, no, there's a lot of black people that died, and I'm curious to figure out why we don't talk about that. Like, why is it that we as a community are not regulating our behavior and saying, maybe we shouldn't call ourselves niggas in every other song. Maybe that sends the wrong message. Am I being like a weirdo by saying that maybe it's a little strange?
Or get mad when a white person says it. Like hip hop, the biggest music in the biggest music in the country, is one of the biggest genres in the entire world. And like you said, in every other song they say the N-word, but then you get mad when a white person, well, you put it in the song and you want people to recite your lyrics and you want people to sing and sing along or whatever. But then you get mad when they say it. Like, no, we can't. You can't have it both ways, man. Like you can't have it both ways. You got to be conscious, be able to use your brain, be conscious enough to understand. Like, yo, if I put this in a song and this song blows up, then there's gonna be millions and millions of white people around the world saying these words that include nigga. You know what I mean? Like it includes that. And so therefore, when the white man or the white girl or whoever sees me on the street after singing this song 50, 100, 1,000 times, she might think of me as a nigga or think of the next black man as a nigga because
let's not keep repeating the word though. I don't want the algorithms to catch it because YouTube will ban them. But I started it, so it's my fault. But yeah. But you're right though. You're 100% right, man. I think it's like it's just very strange because the thing that people gotta understand is like you teach people how to treat you. Like anybody who has a daughter can explain that to their daughter. Like if you treat yourself like you're garbage and tell that man that you're garbage and let him talk to you like you're garbage, then you're going to get garbage level treatment, but if you tell him, that you expect to be treated a certain way and that you honor yourself in a certain way, then he's going to be forced to honor you too, or he's going to have to walk away. So I'm trying to figure out Black people, I know that we want white people to treat us better. We want white folks to tell us Black Lives Matter. But do you really believe that Black Lives Matter? Because if you really believe Black Lives Matter, then you will be getting upset when little girls are being shot in Chicago. If you really cared about things like the education of your kids, you would be outraged over the fact that cities like Chicago has 55 schools. I don't know if you know this, Jeff. They got 55 schools in Chicago without one single child that can read or do math at grade level. Not one. They don't have one child in 55 schools that can literally pass the basic test.
How old are these?
I think these are high school kids, but I got to double check that.
School?
Yeah. So if you don't fix it, it's not going to get fixed, and I think that we are hypnotized into this mindset where we are convinced that we are almost like children. that like a child doesn't feel like he has control over his own outcomes, his own fate. He looks to his parents. His parents shape his whole reality. So we treat white people like they're our parents, and they act like they're our parents. They come in, and but that's what colonialism does. That's what systematic racism does. Colonialism is all about basically this idea that says these people are savages. They're too stupid to regulate themselves. They need us to manage them so that they don't self-destruct. That was the whole argument during slavery. If we let all these Negroes go, they don't know how to live. They're going to be killing each other. They're going to be broke. They're going to be poor. They're going to be messing. So what I would say is that if you don't agree with that, then step up. We're going to have to step up and regulate ourselves. We can't sit here and wait. In fact, I saw this list. I put it on my Instagram. My Instagram is the real Boyce Watkins, by the way, if you want to follow. And I put this video up where they were talking about why men die younger than women. And they got around to black men, and they were basically saying black men die like younger than everybody, right? And when you listed the reasons why, they were basically saying it's inadequate access to healthcare. It's racism, dealing with racism on the job. Now, all those things are true, but what they were basically saying is that if black men are going to live longer, then white people have to decide that that's going to happen. Like white people have to stop discriminating against them. White people have to give them access to healthcare. White people have to go help them, instead of saying, what I would say to a brother is, man, just get your checkup. Like take your medication. Take your fat ass and exercise every now and then. Stop smoking and drinking so much. You know what I mean? It's like in my mind, we should be thinking, what can I do as a man to make sure I live a long life, instead of saying, gosh, I hope that white people decide that they're going to give me access to the things I need in order to live, because I'm nothing more than an animal in a cage that they built for me. No, they are not your damn parents. They are not responsible for you. You are responsible for you. And if you think that there's something weird about me saying that, I challenge you. You're the weirdo.
I'm with you.
You're
the problem with you.
Something's wrong with you. If you think something's wrong with what I just said, then something is wrong with you. So anyway, man, you know what? Me and my wife gonna get on this plane, man. I'm gonna let you get the last word. But by the way, this is Jeff Lightsey Jr. And I'm gonna put his information up here. He's from Ball Sports. He's excellent at what he does. He's extremely good. I hope you all will follow him on Instagram and Twitter. There's his stuff. It's J Lightsey 7. And I just have a lot of respect for Jeff. And I want to just take a moment and just directly ask you, could you please go follow him? Give me a yes in the chat if you're gonna go follow Jeff and kind of converse with him. He's on there every day. And he's also supporting our HBCUs, stepping up in a big way. We got to support our own institutions. If we don't support ourselves, nobody else will. So if that's how you think, if you agree and you align with these ideas, then his Instagram is right there. So please follow him. I'm directly asking you to do that. Now, Jeff, I'll let you get the last word, man, please.
Absolutely, man. We will have to continue to have conversations like this, because everybody, even people who are the biggest and brightest of stars in whatever their profession is, sometimes need to get, like, the community polices and the community takes care of each other. And so when we have conversations like this, we are our community. Me and the Black community, we are our community. So therefore, we have to hold each other accountable. And if we see someone getting out of line, sometimes you have to admonish them. If you got in trouble, your mama gave you a whooping. And then back in the day, your auntie might have gave you a whooping, and your uncle and your daddy. So you might have got about 4 whoopings for one crime, right? Like, for doing one thing bad, might have got you 4 whoopings. And so therefore, you have to be able to hold these people accountable. And I think us having conversations like this is holding our community accountable. Why? And who do you hold accountable the most? The people you think the most of. I think the most of Black people. I love Black people. I know we're great. And the world knows we're great. Just, we need to make sure that we know that we're great. And so therefore, I'm holding us accountable as if we're the greatest and biggest and brightest that have ever done anything, because we are. And therefore, sometimes it takes public lashing, getting a public whooping, to understand that, you're better than that. And Ja Morant is better than that. Us as a community are better than what some of the things that we're doing. And I'm always going to hold us accountable, because I think the most of us, I know that we're the biggest, brightest, smartest, fastest, or whatever in everything. We just have to continue to see that. So that's what's taking place.
Right on. All right, everybody. Well, we're about to head on out. So we wish Ja Morant the very best. I hope that he doesn't blow that $193 million contract. That's a lot of black wealth lost. And again, I remind you that you should pay attention to these things when they talk about the racial wealth gap like it's a big mystery. I need you to understand that the racial wealth gap is not a mystery. We know exactly where the wealth is going. It's being disappeared through bad culture. When you have culture where people want to engage in the thug life instead of actually doing things that are building, then you're losing your wealth. When you have millions of kids that are not being educated properly, well, you're losing your wealth because those kids could be asset builders. Instead, they become liabilities. When you're being trained to go work for other folks instead of working for your own community, when you're being trained to go to college and go $200,000 in student loan debt that you will never repay, all these things, little things, are ways that they zap your wealth. And the prison industrial complex is a multi-billion-dollar moneymaker for the white community. And I believe that that's why in the 1990s, when they saw that hip hop was actually making black men more intelligent, more alert, and more assertive, they flipped it and made it into something that made you more destructive and made the world fear you. Right? That's the way they kill you. They lock you up. The police shoot you or whatever. Nobody cares because nobody cares when somebody. When an undesirable gets eliminated, right? So we have to do better things than that, man. We can't embrace that terrible culture because that's not who we are. So God bless you guys. Thank you all for listening. I'll check back in with you a little bit later. I hope that you guys will stop by in LA March 10th. We're doing a Black Wealth Boot Camp out there. I sent a text out to Ice Cube and I asked him if he would stop by because I hadn't seen Cube or talked to him in a while. And he said he would if he has the time. So maybe he'll come by the boot camp. But if you'd like to join us, we'll be there for 2 days. We will be covering my new book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And we're going to do a deep dive. You'll get a lot of materials. I will train you on how to implement this. And I guarantee you it'll change your life. So feel free to join us. And also, if you don't want to come out, you can still go to BoyceWatkins.com. There's a lot of stuff there. There's a list of stocks, AI stocks you can buy. That is a free list. You can grab that. There's also a training I did on how to make money without working. So feel free to take a look at all that. So God bless you guys. Have a great day. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you soon. Take care now. Peace.